Good morning, parishioners of St. Anne's, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Jamey Sturgill and myself wanted to share with you some information in regards to seating at the church once we open for daily and weekend masses. As you know, daily masses will start on Monday, June the 1st. Weekend masses will start with the Vigil Mass at 4 p.m. on June the 6th here at St. Anne's. And there will be a number of changes and different things that are going to happen because of the coronavirus. So we decided to make this little video to hopefully give you a little bit of a better understanding in regards to what we will be doing.
So, Father, who is allowed to come, or is everybody allowed to come?
Well, sadly, unfortunately, because of the coronavirus restrictions, not everybody will be able to come. We have a church that seats approximately 900 people, and we're hoping that we can sit somewhere maybe between 150 and 170, which means that everybody who would normally be here on a weekend will not be able to be here. We have to do social distancing, of course, following the governor's instructions and the instructions sent out by Bishop Maluli as well. So not everyone will be able to be here, and probably we will be doing a system called Eventbrite, having people sign up and signing in for Mass, and once we reach that 150 to 170, whatever the final figure will be, then obviously no one else will be able to come to Mass on that particular day and time.
So how many times can you go to Mass in a week?
Well, what we're hoping is that many people would have the opportunity to come on a weekly basis, and the bishop has abrogated the obligation to attend Mass on Sunday, so you're not required to do so. So you could come on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Friday. So we'd like people to sign up for only one Mass a week, which would give other people the opportunity to also come to Mass and receive the Eucharist in that week.
What about people who are more vulnerable to catching the virus?
Sure. Obviously, the instructions of both the governor and the bishop and even the Holy Father has said on a number of occasions that those who are vulnerable, which according to the Center for Disease Control is anybody who's 65 or older and anyone who has underlying medical conditions, which would be things like obviously lung condition, heart condition, diabetes, things like that, should really give serious thought to staying home. And I know a number of people have said it's an act of charity for your neighbor to do that. And also to wear a mask. It's an act of charity to your neighbor to protect yourself. Well, I think it's protecting them more than yourself. So those who are vulnerable, and if anyone is anxious, you don't have to be over 65 to be anxious about coming again in a larger group of people. So anyone who would not feel comfortable or who would be a certain age or have certain medical conditions really should consider staying home and not attending Mass personally or in person, but continue to watch the streaming Mass, which we're going to continue certainly for the foreseeable future as long as this crisis continues for sure.
Okay, so we will be continuing the live streaming. And what about masks in general? Is everyone required to wear a mask?
From what the instructions said, if I remember, anyone who's over 13 is required to wear a mask. I think anyone kind of from there down to maybe 2 or 3 is suggested, but under 2, I think they're concerned about that, child's ability to breathe properly, and also certainly I believe it's anyone under 2 should not be wearing a mask.
Okay, well, what about when should people arrive to Mass, and will the doors be open all day? And if Mass starts at 4 o'clock, can they come at 2?
Okay. Well, what we're going to do for Mass is open the door half an hour before Mass would begin. So say for the 10:30 Mass here on Sunday morning, the doors would be open at 10 o'clock. The entranceway, there will be one way to enter the church, which will be the door on the right side of the altar as you're facing the altar, where the St. Joseph statue is, where the Infant of Prague statue is. People will come in at that door. If the Eventbrite system, which we hope is up and running, you will have something that says you already signed up, probably on your phone. There will also be someone there to make sure you have that, and also make sure you have your mask on, And also we are hoping the temperatures will be able to be taken with one of those thermometers that you kind of point at your forehead and take the temperature. So we're hoping that that will be able to be done as well. If the church is open, and well, let me say, the church will not be open all day for private prayer, merely because the instructions also state that somebody has to be there to do cleaning, and somebody has to be there to make sure social distancing takes place and all of those things, and I don't know who we would have to do that. Our maintenance people obviously are involved in doing maintenance. I was thinking of having the church open for maybe a 3-hour period, and then I could be here for an hour, Father Martin could be here for an hour, and then maybe one of our permanent deacons could be here for an hour, which also is a wonderful thing because it would force us to pray for that hour, so you know that that would be built in to that reality. So when our committee meets this coming week, I'll discuss that with them. I haven't really had the opportunity to discuss that yet with Father Martin. And also I know I did get an email, or maybe several, concerning when confessions would start again. And that is a concern because we can't really use the penance room here because it's too close. If we start them a little bit before Mass, then people come in, and we can't really have people, because of privacy, being able to hear or whatever. So I have to figure out when we're going to do that. It might not be at the regular 3 o'clock after the 8:30 Mass confession period. We might have them at different times. So we have to figure out where and when, and probably once we start, because I'm sure there'll be a bit of a backlog, shall we say, because people haven't been able to go to confession, unless they've called and set up an appointment with one of us. So I'm sure there'll be a number of people who want to come. So we want to keep that flowing as much as possible and not have people have to wait for an extended period. So the two of us would be hearing confessions the first couple times that we're going to be having them.
So you have a perfect plan in place that can't have any faults, right?
You really think so?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. As we all know, there is no perfect plan. One of the things we're doing is starting with only 3 Masses instead of the 5. The 4 p.m. Saturday at St. Anne's, the 10:30 at St. Anne's, and the 9 a.m. At Guadalupe, so that we can sort of see what works, what doesn't, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed. We can also get from the parishioners some feedback as to this worked well, or this is a total disaster, or whatever, because we're expecting, because this is new for us, just as it is for anybody who would be coming to church, very difficult, very new, very unfamiliar. So we really don't know what will be good and what will not be good. We're trying to do the best we can, and we will start out slowly and then see what needs to be tweaked. So there is no perfect plan, and we're not expecting this plan to be perfect, and I'm expecting a lot of complaints will be coming my way.
I think in your letter you asked all of us to be ready for some patience and understanding.
Yes, and that's going to be very important because everybody is pretty much in the same boat. Something new, something different. I certainly have talked to many people who are older than I am. Have they ever experienced something like this? And their answer is no. You really have to go back from what I would imagine would be the influenza outbreak in 1918 to have something that might be similar. Mm-hmm. And of course, probably there's not a whole lot of people who are still here from 1918, and if they are still here, they probably don't have a real good recollection of what happened in that time frame because they were too young to remember.
Okay, one last thing that's extremely practical would be the seating. And we've made a seating chart, but in order to understand it, it's good to have in mind that we're trying to keep 6-foot distance. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be skipping every 2 pews. So on the seating chart, which you see on the screen, has row after row with numbers on it, but there's 2 pews in between those seats.
Right.
So if maybe we could just point these out.
Sure. I think that's a good idea. And let me just mention that the reason for this, of course, as Jamie said, is the social distancing and keeping distance from people. I also remind you that if you are a husband and wife, you do not have to be 6 feet apart. You can sit next to each other. If you are a family of 5, you do not have to be 6 feet apart. You can sit next to each other. And I know in going about trying to get this diagram together, we do have sections of 3, sections of 2, and we do have also family section. We do recognize that some people may be sitting by themselves because they are coming by themselves. And even if your very good friend is also at that same Mass, if you and your very good friend don't live together, then you are supposed to be separated by that 6 feet distance. So you really can't sit next to each other. You would have to be separated by that 6 feet from each other.
So if we can, our attempt is to make this part of the church for families. And then in these big pews, we plan to have 3 people sit on one side and 2 people sit on the other side, allowing for the distance of 6 feet at least. But then you have to skip 2 pews, so if someone's sitting here, which is our plan, you have to skip 2 pews, and then 2 more people can sit here, and 3 people on the other side. Now, we do understand that most people don't come to church in 3s or 2s exactly. So when we say that a place is open for 2 or 3, it may be the case that one person ends up sitting there.
Yes.
So we're not saying singles aren't allowed to come to church. We're giving optimal space. So hopefully, if we do fit 2 and 3 in every spot, I think the number is 170. So we could possibly fit 170, but we're not expecting to get 170. We'll likely get 150, 130 because we're going to have singles in the places where the 2s and 3s are. And so we got 4 families and 4 plus on this side of the church, families and 4 plus on the far side of the church as well. And then in the middle, you have 2 on the side closest to the edge, 2 on the side closest to that edge, and 3 will be down the middle, skipping 2 pews. And now there are a few odd places in the church, like these seats, which we're going to attempt to do the 2, skip 2, and then 2 again. So follow the chart to the best that we can, but keep in mind that we're skipping 2 pews.
And the ushers will be here again to help direct people to the designated areas where they are able to sit. So the help will be there. One of the priests can even help with that. So hopefully we'll not just rely on people trying to figure this out, but there'll be some direction as well.
Okay, so I think we'll try to make maybe another video or something to try and communicate. We're going to try to make this as smooth as possible.
We hope so. As painless as possible for everybody, including me and Father Martin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, God bless. Stay safe and healthy.